Hi there, my lovely people. My name's Alex, and I run the Autism Acceptance page on Facebook. Obviously, if you're seeing this on Facebook, you will know that. If you're seeing it on YouTube, then I will drop a link in the comments of this post to my Facebook page where you can go along and check it out. I cover a wide range of topics on autism from a neurodiversity standpoint, but a no-nonsense, non-woke standpoint. I don't do all the BS wokey stuff. So yeah, if that's what you like, if that's what you're interested in, then please click the link in the comments. Now today, I want to address a very complex and sensitive topic. I will be talking about abuse, so just put a little warning on that. I've recently interacted with a post that's made me think. There's a post that I've heard of a while ago, or a situation I heard of a while back. This little boy called Zach, he's autistic, and his mum, Whitney Ellenby, she was a lawyer, and she ended up having to quit to look after her son. But her way of looking after him was to expose him to all the things that terrify him, in order to desensitize him to them and to be able to live in the world. Now, when I first read the book, I haven't read her book, I'm about to actually read her book, but when I first read the post, I hated her. I thought she was an evil, child-abusing bitch. And I still think that what she did was horrible child abuse. But it's made me think that, yes, some parents can be desperate. That is not an excuse for abuse. But some desperate people can believe if the powers that be come to them and say, we can help your son or your daughter, we can fix this, and no one else has been able to, and this is how you do it, then if you're desperate, then you're likely to listen. What Whitney Ellenby did was her son was scared of outside large indoor spaces. So she forced him into those spaces, literally forced him, kicking, screaming, struggling wildly to get away from her. It was horrible. And she wrote a book about how doing this helped to desensitize her son from the things that he was scared of. Horrible. I hate that. Could it work? Yeah, maybe it could work. People can and do deal with traumatic incidences. People can and do get over things. Could you say that's good for him? Did it make him stronger? When somebody goes to war, I'm going to use the analogy of war, and they're in a war zone and they see the most horrific things, and they have to do some awful, horrific things, and they have some horrific things done to them. They survive that and they come out the other side. Now, yes, they've come out stronger, but should we do war therapy? I think not. So, where a situation or doing a certain act can sometimes make you stronger than your struggles, it's inadvertent and it's cruel. The Judge Rotenberg Centre does these shocks, electric shocks, that are so painful. The UN has classed what they do, the GED shock devices they use, as actual torture. And that's come from the United Nations, class the level of pain the staff inflict on disabled people, vulnerable and disabled people at the Judge Rotenberg Centre. The UN class that as torture, yet they call it therapy. Maybe some of them do get over their issues. Is that despite, or is it because? I posted before and I will post more of her on my Autism Acceptance page. But there's a wonderful woman called Jennifer Masumba, and she survived the Judge Rotenberg Centre and the strap downs and the shocks and all that. And she's come out the other side and she's strong. But what happened to her was awful. She doesn't see it as therapy. She sees it as cruel abuse, the cruel abuse that it is. Yes, she's survived it. Yes, she's come out stronger, probably from it. But that doesn't make it right. Just because you come out stronger from a situation, abusive situation, doesn't mean that you can call that abuse therapy. Now, saying that, I've been made to think, I don't know what, Whitney Allenby to me seemed, from what I've heard, seemed quite self-centered. Did she want to help her son? Yes, I think so. Was there a big part of it that her ego depended on it? Yes, I think so. I'll read a book and I'll see, and I'll cascade it on the Autism Acceptance page. But what I want to talk about is autism and fears, phobias, and sensory overload, sensory and information overload. Now, we live in a world. We live in the world as it is, and we have to live in that world. There's a social model of disability, and the world can make adaptations for us to a certain extent, and we can find our own get-arounds. But we exist in the world as it is. And if we can't handle anything, if we can't handle going out into the world, if we can't handle everyday life, going into a shop, going outside, going to school, going to all sorts of places, busy, noisy places with sensory stuff, then basically we're very limited on how we can live our life as humans. But the thing is, phobias are not sensory overload, and sensory overload is not a phobia. But very often the two can coincide, and we need to be able to live, like I said, live our lives, and we're going to come up into things that are sensorily overloading, things that are information overloading, and we have got to be able to deal with that to a certain extent. Now, if you are, and I'm going to use the words, those horrible words that people say, the words that people say we shouldn't use, but if you're a high functioning autistic, then you can articulate better. You can say what it is about the thing that scares you. Is it a phobia or is it sensory overload? Is it both? So a terror response, a phobia, a panic attack, a terror response, what is that? It's a fear that, or a notion that we feel, however justified that feeling is, we feel that we are going to be in pain, in extreme pain, or we are going to die. Now, a low functioning autistic person might not be able to articulate that thought, or even process that as a cohesive thought in their mind, but the instinct is still going to be there. Instinct keeps us out of danger or makes us avoid danger. So if somebody is high functioning, they can maybe tell us what about the thing that is scary or overloading, and we can try to mitigate against those things. So let's say it's a phobia. I can speak to this because I'm very phobic about quite a few things. So I can't swim, and I've always been scared of the water, not like baths and showers. But although as a child I was scared of the noise of the shower and the shower cascading down on me, because it did feel quite claustrophobic. But yeah, so take swimming. The autistic person is terrified. Are you going to take them swimming? Are you going to force them into the pool? Are you going to drag them in there, kicking, screaming, struggling wildly to get away from you? Are you going to do that? And why are they scared? What is it that they are scared of? So some may not like to have their face under the water. They might find it painful having water up their nose. I think we all would. They might be scared of death, of drowning, if their face goes under the water. So what we need to do is we need to look at the reason they're scared, the specific things, the specific outcomes that they are scared of when they go swimming. So they're scared their face is going to go underwater and they're going to drown. So how can we, first of all, reassure them that that isn't going to happen and explain why that isn't going to happen and how we are going to make sure that it isn't going to happen? And also, how can we gain their trust in us to make sure that we can and we will stick to our word and make sure their face does not go into the water? if we take them swimming. So that specific thing needs to be addressed. They need to know how you're going to make sure their face doesn't go underwater. They're going to need to trust that you can and you will stop their face going underwater. And then there's what else are they scared of? They could, if somebody high functioning, they're going to be able to tell you, or probably be able to tell you, and you're going to be able to ask questions. And nothing is too silly. If your child is scared of having a bath and they think that they're going to get their toe stuck in the plug hole and not be able to get it out, or they're going to fall down the plug hole, you need to reassure them how they're not, how they can't. So you look at the size. Well, what if I shrink? Okay, so you're going to block the plug hole. You're going to put something heavy on the plug hole to make sure that they can't go down it. Obviously, they can't go down it, but you need them to trust, and you're going to do whatever it takes to get them to trust that the element of the reason they're scared of a particular thing, the element that they're scared of cannot occur. And I think that's the best way to do things. Gradual exposure. Yes, people do need to a certain extent learn to get over certain fears. If it's sensitivities, what is it about the thing that makes them sensitive? Is there a distraction that you can use? Can you interrupt their pattern? Can you get them to associate the ickiness of it with something else, so that to associate something else, so they don't feel with the task, so it doesn't make them feel so icky. Deal with the tiny little fragments and elements of the things that they may be scared of. And again, don't use force. Be firmish, be determined, and be encouraging. And also pick your battles. Is it worth it? If it's something that they're not going to really come across, that does it really matter? Is it going to happen in everyday life? If they're not, if they're not bothered, and it doesn't need to happen in everyday life, then it's not worth the stress for you or them. That's my opinion. So yeah, that is kind of in response, not response really, but kind of how I feel about after interacting with on Olga Bogdashina's page, who is a wonderful woman, amazing woman, scholar of Donna Williams, who has a son on the autism spectrum, and she brought up the Whitney Allenby thing, the Elmo mum, and that discussions came up, and yeah, that from listening to her and Paul Isaac, people on her page, yeah, that's the conclusion that I've come to. And parent bashing, I think there are parents that don't know what to do, and if an autistic person, a high functioning autistic person, or anybody on that side has something to offer, and they listen, and they don't know what to try, and they're willing to be educated, then we shouldn't be blaming them. I think there are parents that will put their foot down and say, no, we don't want to hear it, we're going to go our way, we don't want to listen to the neurodiversity mob. Hear us out. Whether you take the advice or not, you may hear something new that you didn't think of before, you may not. But don't dismiss autistic people. Don't dismiss the so-called high-functioning autistic person just because your child is low-functioning. Because it's the same, although everyone on the spectrum is very different, and there's a big difference between, profoundly disabled people, profoundly disabled autistic people, and not non-profoundly disabled autistic people. But there are crossovers, there are similarities in certain aspects, and there may be elements that a high-functioning autistic adult may be able to address, or things that they may be able to come up with for your low-functioning child that somebody who is not on the spectrum wouldn't think about. So, just keep an open mind. Don't dismiss autistic adults as the neurodiversity mob. Autistic adults shouldn't be forcing and preaching. Autistic adults, I know it can be frustrating, but I think there needs to be bridges built and more dialogue between the #ActuallyAutistic people and the parents of autistic children, both low and high functioning. Okay, I hope this has helped. Love and peace to you all, and remember, you're stronger than your struggles. Bye for now.